Looking to push your Warlock DPS to the absolute limit? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how with the brand new exotic class item, Solipsism. Solipsism is the brand new exotic class item for the Warlocks, farmable from the exotic mission Dual Destiny. If you need help with this exotic mission, make sure to click the icon at the very top right there to get to my exotic guide. Now, what about this class item makes your damage so potent? Well, it's the combination of Star Eater Scales and Necrotic Grips. But what do these two exotics do? Well, Star Eater Scales increases your damage on your super for every orb of light you pick up after you're at max supercharge. For max stacks being 6 Feast of Light, this is a whopping 70% damage increase to your super. Meanwhile, with Necrotic Grips, every time you get a melee on an enemy, it poisons them, and with each poison tick, this damage will ramp up. However, with the class item version, the damage doesn't seem to ramp up, but it does still do very respectable damage. So now we know what the class item does, what about that damage output? Well, in all my testing, I used the exact same rocket launcher, the reconstruction, and explosive light. I also used the following fragments: Facet of Dominance, which allowed my arc grenade to jolt my target; Facet of Courage, where my arc, solar, and void abilities will deal increased damage to targets afflicted with a darkness debuff. In this case, my darkness debuff is my arcane needle; and Facet of Dawn, giving me Radiant. I also used the aspect Helion, which creates a small solar body that adds extra scorch damage. Something worth noting is that I also tried to match surges, but I only used 2. In the case where I used Witherhoard, I used 1 kinetic surge and 2 solar. It's also worth noting that in my current time of testing, the current surges were solar and strand. The rotation used was as followed: start with a Phoenix Dive to summon Helion, throw an Arcane Needle, then Grenade, then activate my Nova Bomb. Activate the Cade Retribution Golden Gun and fire that. Fire 2 Explosive Light Rockets, then charge up my Golden Gun again. This rotation gave the damage number I showed at the start of the video, 3,125,175. It is worth noting though, that my rockets and Still Hunt were both being buffed 25% due to Solar Surge. If we were to divide this damage by 1.25, which would remove the 25% damage buff across the board, that gives me a damage number of 2,500,140. This is an incredibly competitive damage output, but how does it compare to, oh, I don't know, Song of Flame? Sorry about that, I got a little bit carried away. Where was I? When it came to Song of Flame, we wanted to do 2 different tests. One with just the super, and one with a damage rotation. In the damage rotation, as opposed to Still Hunt, I opted for Witherhoard. As we mentioned in a previous video, when Song of Flame is active, it allows your solar and kinetic weapons to apply Scorch. Our first test was Song of Flame on its own, but we added an Arc Grenade and a few Arcane Needles here and there as well. This gave us a total damage of 1,922,555. Not too bad. However, we do need to remember that this is a Solar Surge week, so if we divide by 1.25 in order to try and remove that 25% damage buff, instead the total damage comes out as 1,538,044. For just a super, that's pretty decent. But what about all that downtime when you're waiting for a melee or grenade to come back? Well, that's where the damage rotation comes into play. And with this damage rotation, albeit a tad scuffed, my apologies, this gave us a very respectable 2,722,827. And once we divide that by 1.25, this then gives us a damage output of 2,178,261.6. Of course, in-game, Bungie will do some rounding here. But you're probably thinking, well, hang on a second. The Nova Bomb did a lot more damage. It's an instant cast, not a roaming super. So, what's the point of Song of Flame then? Well, I'm glad you asked. In some encounters, there will typically be one player on a debuff role, for example Tractor Cannon. In a situation like this, usually that player's damage is a lot worse than everyone else's. So, in a scenario like that, I think Song of Flame has a lot of potential, especially now that we have these prismatic class items. Just think about it, about 2 million-ish damage with very little ammo spent. It's incredible. As far as the Nova Bomb rotation goes, yes, it could have had a bit of cleanup, but it was still very, very solid. Don't get me wrong, Hunters will probably remain as the top dogs for DPS output across the rest of the game, but it's nice to know that us Warlocks have some level of damage that we can dish out. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, well, why not give it a like? And if you really enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe. You can always unsub later if you don't watch my content that much. If you really want to keep up with what I'm doing, why not click that Linktree link down below? It'll take you to all my socials, including our community Discord. If you have any suggestions or ideas or requests for videos, for example, a raid guide or build videos or anything else, why not let me know with a comment down below. Again, I want to thank you all so much for watching. The support from Final Shape's launch has been incredible and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough. I hope to see you all in the next video, whatever it may be, and until then, I'm off to play some more Destiny. So I'll see you all Starside.